But Schwim has given you a Christmas gift early this year. You're all getting bikes from Schwim.
For 2 years, Jon and Kate Plus 8 turned a Pennsylvania couple with twins and sextuplets into one of the most recognizable families in America. Millions of viewers watched Kate Gosselin run a household of 8 children with a kind of precision most people reserve for military logistics, while her husband Jon played the more laid-back counterpart. The show made Kate a best-selling author and a magazine cover regular. It also, according to 2 of her own children, built a family dynamic that looked nothing like what viewers saw on screen. In the years since the cameras stopped rolling, both Hannah and Collin Gosselin have spoken publicly and in increasing detail about what they say really happened at home, and their accounts, along with corroborating statements from their father and documents surfaced in court, have painted a picture far more complicated than the tidy family the network sold. Growing up on camera, Hannah Gosselin, now in her 20s, has generally been the more measured of the 2 when discussing her childhood. In a 2025 interview with Teen Vogue, she explained that being filmed almost constantly simply felt normal to her and her siblings, since it was the only childhood any of them had ever known. "You're always surrounded," she told the outlet. The film crew was there 24/7. She's also described a strategy she and her siblings came up with as kids to claw back small moments of privacy, shouting out brand names like fast food chains during arguments or meltdowns, since trademark restrictions meant the network legally couldn't air that footage without permission. It's a small, almost funny detail, but it says something serious about what it's like to grow up under constant surveillance, even young children figuring out how to use copyright law as a defense mechanism against their own home life being broadcast. What Hannah has been most consistent about is that the show, in her view, pulled her parents apart while pushing her and her siblings closer together. "Filming made my siblings and I closer to each other, even though it made my parents further from each other," she said. She's also said plainly that she experienced unfair treatment in her mother's house, which is part of why, as a young teenager, she chose to leave. The divorce and the split household. Jon and Kate divorced in 2009 after 10 years of marriage, following widely reported infidelity rumors and the mounting strain of filming a hit reality show. Kate initially retained full legal custody of all 8 children, and the show continued under the name Kate Plus 8. But the peace didn't last. Behind the scenes, a custody battle between Jon and Kate stretched on for years, and it was during this period that the most serious allegations in the family's story began to surface. In 2018, both Hannah and Collin left their mother's household to live with their father. Hannah has said the decision came down to feeling that she was treated differently than her siblings and simply wanting to be with her dad. For Collin, the situation was far more serious and far more publicly disputed. Collin's allegations. Collin Gosselin has said that around age 12, he was sent by his mother to the Fairmount Behavioral Health System, a psychiatric facility in Philadelphia, and that he remained there for roughly 2 years. Collin has described the experience as one of the most frightening of his life. "I didn't know what was going on," he told Entertainment Tonight. "I didn't know where I was going." He and his father have both said that Jon wasn't informed in advance that Collin had been institutionalized. Jon has said he only realized his son was missing when he sat down to a family lunch and Collin simply wasn't there. Kate has offered a very different account. She has said publicly that she institutionalized Collin because she wasn't equipped to handle unpredictable and violent behavior, telling viewers on Kate Plus 8 at the time, "I was not able, with my own resources here, to meet his needs." She has consistently maintained that the decision was about getting her son appropriate care, not punishment. In the years since, Collin has gone much further than simply disputing the reason for his institutionalization. Starting around 2022 and escalating through interviews with the U.S. Sun, Entertainment Tonight, and a Vice TV documentary series, Collin has alleged that his mother physically and emotionally abused him for years beginning when he was around 8 or 9 years old. He has described being isolated from his 7 siblings, kept out of school, and, in his most detailed and disturbing claims, held for long stretches in what is called a containment room in the basement of the family home. "My mother had a room built in our unfinished section of the storage basement." Collin told the U.S. Sun she had a room put up with cameras in it, a tiny window in the corner, and it was bolt-locked from the outside. He has alleged that on multiple occasions, his hands and feet were zip-tied and the lights were shut off while he was left in that room, monitored only by a camera. Collin has said the alleged abuse escalated as he got older, and that he eventually stopped attending school and began confiding in teachers, which he believes contributed to his removal from the home and institutionalization shortly after. He has also said that his time at Fairmount later cost him a chance to serve. Collin has claimed his history at the facility led to his discharge from Marine Corps training, a loss is described as devastating. Jon Gosselin has publicly backed his son's account. He has said he only learned about the alleged basement room and zip ties well after the fact, first from Hannah, once she felt safe enough to tell him after moving into his home, and later from Collin's own statements to therapists once Jon had gained legal custody. I never found out about her singling out Collin and the basement and the zip ties until way afterwards, Jon told the U.S. Sun. He has also said that everything Collin eventually told his therapist lined up with what Hannah had already told him independently. Kate, through her attorney, has largely declined to respond point by point. Her lawyer, Richard Pulio, told Fox News Digital that Kate doesn't want to comment because she believes her statements tend to be taken out of context, adding that the record speaks for itself. Kate has denied the specific abuse allegations in other public statements and has suggested that if she weren't a public figure, she would consider legal action over how the claims have been characterized. Collin's allegations remain disputed, corroborated by his father and, by his account, consistent with what he told medical professionals at the time, but not independently verified by any court finding of abuse. The custody fight over Hannah. Hannah's departure from her mother's home came with its own public flashpoint. In 2017, a dispute over custody reportedly became heated enough that police were called to intervene at a parking lot where Jon and Kate had arranged to exchange custody of Hannah, then 13. The following year, a court granted Jon primary physical and sole legal custody of both Hannah and Collin, a decision that Hannah has said reflected her own stated preference to the family court. The other 6 children remained with Kate through their teenage years, and the family split along those lines has largely held ever since. The money, beyond the abuse allegations, Collin and Hannah's story took another turn in 2019, when court documents surfaced showing that Kate had withdrawn a total of $100,000, 2 separate $50,000 withdrawals, from trust account holding Hannah and Collin's earnings from the show. Because Pennsylvania doesn't have a Coogan law protecting the earnings of child performers the way California, and a few other states do, Kate wasn't found to have broken any law. But in court testimony, she acknowledged taking the money, saying she needed it to survive, and at one point suggesting the children actually owed her money back for private school tuition, reportedly telling the court she'd spent far more on them than she'd taken. Jon has publicly called the withdrawals disgusting and morally wrong, and Collin has cited the missing trust money as one more example of what he sees as a pattern of his mother prioritizing her own needs over his. Where things stand now. Today, the Gosselin family remains split largely along the same lines that formed back in 2018. Hannah and Collin live independently, both having aged out of the custody arrangements, while the other 6 siblings have had limited to no contact with their father in the years since. Hannah has said she still maintains a functional relationship with her mother, texting regularly, even as she continues to acknowledge the pain of her childhood. Collin, by contrast, has remained fully estranged from Kate and from most of his other siblings, though he said he doesn't rule out reconciliation and has even called himself 100% open to it one day. In November 2025, Jon Gosselin remarried, exchanging vows with Stephanie Lebo in front of about 180 guests at a venue in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Hannah and Collin were both there, Collin serving as one of his father's groomsmen, while the couple's other 6 children did not attend. Collin has since announced a memoir titled In the Shadow of 8, Surviving the Reality of My Childhood, in which he says he'll lay out his full account of what happened behind the cameras. My life was always broadcast to millions, he said in a statement about the book, but what was actually happening in my life was never shown. In fact, much of it was deliberately kept hidden. Whatever the final word on his specific allegations turns out to be, the split within the Gosselin family, between the children who left and the 6 who stayed, between the mother who built an empire out of showing her family to the world and the 2 children who say that same spotlight cost them their childhoods, shows no sign of closing anytime soon.